but let's just see here. Unmute your speaker. We're using the computer audio. So I want to make sure I start the pause or stop recording. So I had already set the or recorded. That's you. Okay.
So it looks like it's already recording.
Right. So now I'm trying to see about Facebook.
How to be streaming on Facebook?
Can you check it on yours?
I don't have Facebook.
Okay. Well, then don't. Okay, let's take a look. It's just Google. I mean, there's instructions.
What are you saying to me?
I'm just going to go how to stream on Facebook.
Yeah, I understand. You can Google that. I'm just saying I don't have Facebook, so I can't check on that.
How to stream on Facebook. How to launch a live. Oh boy. How to go live on Facebook. Yep, okay. I know that.
That's because I just joined.
Right, okay. What's on your mind?
Hi everybody. Hi Norbert. Hello everybody.
Hi, everybody. Hello?
Hi, how are you?
I'm sorry, hi, Margarique. I'm good. I was making sure you guys can hear me, right?
Yes.
مرحبا سؤال.
Sunday, create live. Okay.
هاي نهاد.
كيفك؟
تمام الحمد لله، كيف انت؟
الحمد لله.
شادم دقيقتين او اقل من دقيقة، اقل من دقيقة بيكون معنا.
اوكي. حكيت بتيجوا انا بنستنى لها، مش مشكلة، معنا شوية وقت.
Then maybe mute yourself too, because everyone else is hearing this narration.
Okay. All right. It took me a while to get it going on Facebook. So we're on Facebook Live now. Can you hear me, everybody? Do I need to, how do I unmute people?
Oops. Yes, I can hear you.
You can unmute yourself.
They are.
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Norbert.
yeah. Marguerite gave us a thumbs up.
Is your audio on, Dad? Is your volume on your computer on?
Sure, it should be. Oh, right. Okay, can you hear me now?
More can we hear?
Can you hear me, Nihad?
Yes.
Okay. All right. We're live on Facebook. Any questions from anybody? Nihad, Marganit?
No, but I do want to just go over with Shadin really quick. Shadin, دكتور نوربرت بده يحكي أول وبعدين مارغريت وبعدين أنت وسؤاد، أوكي؟
اوكي.
حلو. وينها شادن؟
الشهادة المفروض تكون معنا،
وينها؟
يعني بتشبك، مش عارف مش مبينة.
مش مبينة لا.
You see how to do it? Also, FYI, for the live, it's mirroring what your view is. So if you want it to be speaker view, that's what's in the Facebook Live. So right now, Facebook Live is showing this gallery view versus the speaker view. Like, if you click out of participants, or just, yeah, good. Now go to speaker view. No, speaker view.
How do I do participant view?
Same deal, just, toggle between. You have to click the same thing, gallery view.
Okay.
You see?
Marganit, Nihad, any questions? Can you hear me, Marganit or Nihad?
Yeah, I don't have any questions.
We're good.
Okay. All right, well, we'll just wait for everybody. In the meantime, I'll say hello to Phyllis. Hi, Phyllis. Hi, Morty.
شادن وينك حبيبتي؟
If I know you, Sue, if I don't know you, greetings, welcome. Have you here? I know Jerry Tracy. It's great to have him here. And so that's good. We will slowly but surely be adding people as we go along.
نعم نعم.
Hi, Candida.
نعم.
I hear beautiful sound of a child. Hey, Larry. Larry, by the way, Jerry Tracy is on the line also. Brings back old memories, right? Hi, Stan.
Robert, how are you?
Nice to see you. It's a joy to see you.
Sorry, I see my face.
It's all right.
Hi, Rena.
It's a beautiful face.
Hi, Stan.
Oops.
How are you doing?
Hi, Noah. Welcome.
Hi, Norbert. Nice to speak to you again today.
The pleasure is mine.
مرحبا شادن.
We'll wait a couple minutes and then we'll get started.
I'll go over there. I'll go to the house.
Yeah. Good.
Is that okay? Okay, call me if you need anything, okay?
Even though I'm on Zoom for many of my meetings, this is a always a new experience for me. We've done these webinars at this point 6 or 7 times. And, but, you know, with recording it and trying to record it on Facebook, these are, at least speaking for my age cohort, this is somewhat beyond my intellectual capacity. However, I have 2 babies who are in their 30s, who are very sophisticated. And hi, David Elcott. Wonderful to see your name. We're going to start in 1 minute out of respect for everybody who's joined. Approximately 50 people have signed up, but of course there won't be 50 people, but it's streaming live on Facebook, Tova. Greetings.
Hi, how are you? Oh my God.
All right. I want to, first of all, welcome everybody to this 15th anniversary
I'm good.
annual report.
Yeah, it's really
And I'm going to try to put everybody on mute except for myself and a couple other people. My name is Norbert Goldfield. I'm the founder and executive director of Healing Across the Divides. And those of you who know me, and many of you do, but it's a joy to see people who I don't know also, is that I have essentially want to cover 3 things in these 5 minutes maximum that I'm going to speak. I'm going to talk a little bit about the past, briefly about the future, and then talk about what's going to happen today in this webinar, which will last about 45 minutes or so. In terms of the past, this is in a way a celebration of our annual report, our 15th anniversary annual report. Many of you have received it. For those of you who haven't, who you are known to us, we will definitely, if we have your mailing address, we will be happy to send you one. But since our founding in 2004, our mission has remained the same. And our mission is to measurably improve the health of marginalized Israelis and Palestinians through community-based interventions. And we do that, and this is the main point that I want to say, through an amazing group of staff and a wonderful board of directors and a scientific advisory board. Much of our staff is all of our staff is on the call today. 2 of the staff will be speaking, Marganit, who I'll be introducing in a minute, and Nihad. But also on the call is Tova Reznicek, who's an amazing communications director and the design genius behind, for example, the annual report. So good as the staff and the board of directors and some of our board members on the call. In the process of trying to fulfill the mission, we have measurably improved the lives in our almost 16 years of existence of over 200,000 marginalized Israelis and Palestinians, working with approximately 50 grantees. And that is our past. And but we're not going to rest on our past. We're going to look to the future. And the future is a little bit challenging. It's challenging not just because of the challenges of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, just because of COVID-19, which I deal with, for those of you who don't know me, on a regular basis as an internist. And but also because, you know, these are very challenging financial times. But that said, with the board, with the staff, with the scientific advisory board, we certainly are going to move ahead. And we are very optimistic that we can still measurably improve the lives of Israelis and Palestinians. And you're going to hear about them today. You'll be hearing about one of them in great detail. We usually focus in terms of a webinar on one organization. That's the Family Defense Society. And you will also be hearing about one other organization. So our future is that we will continue to work to measurably improve the lives of marginalized Israelis and Palestinians. We will continue to bring the groups together as we can. So for example, we had a Zoom call with all our Palestinian grantees. Bringing Israeli and Palestinian grantees physically or even by Zoom together is a little bit challenging today, but we will still persevere. So that's our past and our future. What about today? I will finish in just a minute. I will then introduce Marganit, who's our Israeli representative, who will speak for 5 minutes. Then I will introduce Nihad Fatah, who will work with one of our grantees in the West Bank. That's the Family Defense Society. We have a chat box, and I would like to welcome you to ask questions in the chat box, and we will definitely have time for questions, because between myself, Marganit, the presentation by the Family Defense Society, together with Nihad, that all together will take about 30 minutes. After we discuss some of the questions, I hope to I will then introduce Morty Kamel, who's the president of our board, and then we'll wrap up. So now what I would like to do is I would like to introduce Marganit Ophir Gutler, and we are truly fortunate to have her as our amazing Israeli representative, and I'm going to hand it over to her right now.
Thank you, Norbert. Can you hear me? Is it okay now? Okay, great. Is it possible to watch the little PowerPoint presentation?
Yep.
Great. So good evening to my Middle Eastern friends, and good afternoon to the other part of the world. I'm really happy to see some of the faces I know and some of the faces I hope to get to know. And I think that the theme of today was partnerships, and I think the organizations we are working with, the way we treat them is as our partners rather than organization we just give money to, and that I think is quite unique for Healing Across the Divides. And the organization I'm going to talk about, called HATD Bamidbar, which means future in the desert, and they have took over a wonderful initiative called the White Hill Farm, that is a joint project between Yerucham and Rachme. Yerucham is a town in the southern part of Israel, in the periphery, and Rachme is unrecognized Bedouin village. And they are really located nearby. Hopefully I will be able to show you some pictures soon. And they have decided to do some quite unique project that would both enable the resident of Rachme and Yerucham to meet, but have some joint, okay, thank you. Have a joint, can you please put it on presentation mode?
Let's take a look.
Okay, great.
Got it?
Yeah, but I think that would, yeah, that's the last slide actually.
Right.
So now, it's a spoiler now. Could you please just start from the first one?
Yes. How about that one? Is that it?
No, the first one would be the one that titled The White Hill Farm.
That one.
If you go up.
Okay, hold on a second. Somehow, I don't know why.
Okay.
always happy to reveal my. Let's see.
Got it?
Uh,
Okay, I think I can talk and hopefully it would work. That should be okay. So they joined together in order not only to meet, but also to work to improve their life, their lifestyle and their well-being by having this new initiative of a farm, a joint farm, that would enable kids and families to go outside, to grow their own vegetables, and then of course to be able to have a nice salad at home or in the kindergarten activities. As you can see in the picture, so Yerucham just allocate this land for the project. And I think what's happened in the last 2 years of this is that they not only met and had these joint activities between the kindergartens and also the kindergarten teachers and their families, but we could, as Norbert mentioned several times, that it's very important for us to have measurable outcomes, and they have reached amazing outcomes. And we could see that in the kids' dietary, and also it affected the way they use to eat at home at the moment. And also it's really affect their ability to have a more active lifestyle. The kids are outside, they can have fun. And the kindergarten teachers just mentioned enormous improvement in some of the kids' behavior. And even one of the kids from Rahme started to talk due to this activity. But this is couldn't have happened without a partnership. And I do want to talk a little bit about the unique partnership that the HATD Bamidbar and the White Hill Farm staff established. Can we go a little just to the last? Yeah, this is the women group, but I just don't want to steal more time. So I'm just going to talk about the partnerships. And of course, the first is the communities, both Rahme and Yerucham. You can see lots of volunteers and people who are taking active part in the initiatives. They have the women group that they meet. Now it's COVID time, and actually Yerucham was suffering from COVID, and the women from Rahme were not being able to, of course, to visit in these days, but hopefully things will get better soon. So there are a lot of people who really helped at the farm itself. The municipalities, both Yerucham and Rahme, are actively involved. They contribute not only facilities and land and water and support, but also helping with enormous bureaucracy that they have to face. And in the picture, you can see that on the right is the mayor of Yerucham, Tal. Next to her, the former mayor, and Ida is the one with the, I'm sorry, I don't know how you call this. Kafia in Arabic. And actually what you see is the new school that is about to open in 2 days, the Rahme school. So this is really amazing for this school year. They also work with academics, both the Open University and Sapir and K College with students. And now we just got a new, I was informed last week about this students that will start working with the kids in Rahme with the new school, both on sport activities and healthy nutrition. And also I think something is really unique about this initiative is that the Ministry of Health, due to the invitation of the White Hill Farm and the kindergarten teacher, for the first time started to work with Bedouin women in the South. So that is a cooperation that wouldn't have happened without the involvement of the White Hill Farm in this. The other ministry that is involved is the Ministry of Agriculture, because it's a agriculture project. And of course, HATD, Healing Across the Divides, we, as I said in the beginning, we consider ourselves as partners, and whatever relevant knowledge or even different kind of cooperations that we can bring to the table, we're doing that. I'm organizational sociologist, so in addition to my work on health issues, I'm also working with the staff on organizational development. And of course, the program itself and the evaluation was established, I think it was 2 years ago, with the former staff, with Patrick and with Norbert, and we're following that. So I think, I mean, you saw the picture of the farm, but just see how amazing all these partnerships that allow that to happen. And I think both us and the organization are really thankful for that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Nihat, Marganit. Now what I would like to do is, what's amazing about our organization is the staff that we have both in Israel and now in the Palestinian territories. And now what I'd like to do is have Nihat Fatah speak, and she will be working together with Family Defense Society.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you all on Zoom. I'm on right now. You can see me. At some point, this might not happen because the internet's not that strong sometimes here. But for now, I'm here. I've been with Healing Across the Divides for 4 years now, and worked with Patrick, our prior Israeli representative, and now working with Marganit the past 8 months or so. We do great work. I am currently managing or partnering with 3 other organizations. Family Defense Society is one of my favorite organizations, and we are going to spend some time today just talking about the work that we've been able to do together. Right now, I'd like Shadin, who was the project manager of the program, to say a few words, and then Suad will also say a few words, and she was the psychologist on the program. So Shadin, تقدري تبلشي?
Hello, سامعين؟
سامعين. مرحبا.
مرحبا. I want to say hi for everybody. I'm the director of FDS project, Combating Obesity Between Women in Palestine. We implemented it in Nablus area, villages and camps. And it was a very successful project. I would like to thank everybody who worked with us, especially Healing Across the Divides. They develop our experience, and was a very qualitative project. It was very successful, and many women changed their lives. So I want to thank them, and especially Nihad and Dr. Norbert. They enrich my experience in administrative and professional and work with women. The FDS usually is considered one of the most important associations that work to combat violence against women. But this project was very new and very good for women, because many of them have their problems because of obesity in their life with their husbands and in their psychological lives. So I hope that we'll work together another time, and we get another fund, improve and complete the project with other marginalized areas that have lack of services in Palestine, especially in health fields. I want to thank you very much. Thank you, Niha.
Shukran, Shadin. Thank you. It's been more amazing for me than it has been for you. Suad موجودة?
سامعيني؟
مرحبا سامعينك.
مرحبا.
So Suad's going to speak now. She was a psychologist on the
Okay.
program.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm Saad Chewi. I work as a psychologist in Family Defense Society at the hotline, and also I make counseling for domestic violence with women and children. Also, I work as a coordination in the project, also with the educator, and transfer all the cases from different locations dealing with the cases with domestic violence. And it was a very exciting experience in this project. And I would like to thank everybody in this project, especially Dr. Norbert and Nihad and my major, Shaden, and also all the educator and the women who was useful from this project. Thank you.
Shukran, Suad.
Okay, thank you.
So right now, what I'd like to do is just to do go over a short presentation about the work that FDS has done with our partnership. If Dr. Norbert, you could put up the slides. So the name of the organization, I'll start while he's trying to get that put together, is called FDS. It's a Family Defense Society. And they received a fund from us in 2017 to target and work with women in Nablus. The title that they chose for the program was Combating Obesity Among Women in the Nablus Area. Norbert, can you go to the next slide? So this is just a quick map that I put together of the West Bank. If you can see, Nablus is right up there. It's up in the north, the northern part of the West Bank. It's a very vibrant city. It's best known for many things, but knafa, which is a very famous Palestinian dessert. It's sugar layers it's cheese with layers of a lot of sugar syrup. Anyway, so that's where the program was being implemented in the Nablus area, in and around the Nablus area. Next slide, Norbert. So I'll give you a little bit of background about FDS itself. So FDS was founded in Nablus in 1994 by a group of women activists. FDS has been working on the protection of women victims for 20 years, including more recently telephone and shelter services. The shelter accepts women of all ages, including their children, who face domestic violence. It could be from a spouse, it could be from a partner, it could be from a sibling, it could be from a parent. So these women have FDS to turn to. FDS is the only shelter in the West Bank, by the way. There are no other women's shelters available. So if women, wherever they are, come from all over the West Bank, if they need services to FDS. So FDS works to raise a social awareness about domestic violence. Prevention, care, and protection programs are provided to women and children of domestic violence through outreach programs, the helpline, and a safe house. FDS provides psychological, social, and legal support and counseling to women. Can you go to the next slide, Norbert? So a little bit about our program. So Healing Across the Divide and FDS began their partnership in 2017. The aim of the program is to raise awareness about the importance of fighting and reducing obesity in the Nablus area. This is done by implementing the Chronic Disease Self-Management Program. And this is a program that helps people manage their ongoing disease. The program focuses on health, social, and psychological effects of obesity on women in Nablus. The program also addresses domestic violence and the psychological effects it has on women's health, and in some cases leading to obesity. Dr. Norbert came out in 2007 and provided training to not just the FDS, but to other organizations also that we're funding in the West Bank on chronic disease self-management. He's I think a licensed practitioner in that area. Next slide, Dr. Norbert. Okay, so the Chronic Disease Self-Management Program aims to empower village health workers. In turn, this lay-led program builds participant confidence in improving their health and keeping them active and engaged in their lives. The participants who are enrolled in the program learn to address the physical and psychological effects of chronic disease, including fatigue, pain, depression, and frustration. They learn how to get exercise, better nutrition, and use medication properly. And they learn to communicate effectively with family, friends, and health professionals. So here, oh, sorry, Norbert, can you get to the next slide? So in this slide is just some pictures. So in these are the slides of the women coming together during the groups. And so we have a session where you can see Suad and Asil, who's a village health worker, providing women with information around the psychological effects of domestic violence and helping women deal with reasons for their obesity. So Suad is part of that. There's also sessions here that we see village health workers teaching the women how to exercise. So traditionally, women don't go to the gyms in Nablus, even if you can afford it, because it's not cheap. It's not really available to a lot of these women, and because of traditions, most don't go out. So the program aims to teach women to do things at home. And so that's what Suad and this other village health worker were doing. The program also includes hikes and walking tours in and around Nablus. And a lot of this, when they do these walking tours, they bring food and share. Obviously, this hasn't happened because of COVID, but this was happening prior to COVID. One of the dishes you see there is tabbouleh, which is a very famous Palestinian healthy dish. And then there's some cabbages there, and I think some jalapenos, I think, are what they have. So this is a general sense of what the programming looked like throughout the years we worked with the FDS. Can you go to the next slide, Norbert? Hold on, let me see. Okay. So during the COVID era, pandemic, that era, right now, present, FDS continued to work and communicate with participants through WhatsApp, FDS hotline, and Facebook. Additionally, the shelter received special funding to furnish a room designated for incoming residents who were tested and quarantined for 2 weeks before integrating with other residents living in the shelter. So the programming didn't stop when COVID hit. If anything, they continued to provide services on WhatsApp and information, teaching women who are in the programs how to stay safe, and letting them know that if they are in need, that the shelter was still open and providing services. The next slide, Norbert. So, so the results of this program and this partnership in Nablus. So the results include improved physical and psychological health to 1,400 women directly targeted by the project. Specifically, body mass decrease, exercise and water intake increased, and sleep patterns improved. Before the program started, more than 60% of the women agreed that their primary motivation for losing weight was prompted by how people viewed them. After the program, 78% of the women stated that their motivation behind losing weight was the health dangers of obesity. Women learned that being healthy was more important than losing weight. The program raised community awareness on the effects of obesity on societies in 13 towns, villages, and cities in and around Nablus. The program helped engage stakeholders, especially the ministry, to begin to adopt a national program to fight obesity and promote health prevention programs for a better future. And as a result of this program, the domestic violence hotline increased by 15%. Women were coming in to learn how to eat better and learn how to exercise, but there were also learning that there was actual support, psychological support out there, and a lot of women actually came in to do individual counseling from these sessions. and also use the hotline. And the next slide, Norbert. So, we have so combating obesity program in Nablus had many partners. They partnered with other organizations that we partner with, which one was Ahel Balata Club, which is also in the Nablus area, but in Balata town. And then Caritas. Both of these programs were funded by HATD and also worked with participants there to deal with diabetes. FDS also worked with women's shelters, sports clubs, non-government organizations. The Ministry of Social Affairs also became engaged. The Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Education also found interest in this program, and a lot of universities. Next slide. So here are also some more pictures of village health workers working with women, and exercise is another big one. We also have this photo of it. Even though the majority of participants who came were women, in some cases men did come and participate in learning how to stay healthy. That was another interesting part of the program. And then our last slide. So here's our last slide, if you would like to learn more information about our program, please visit us on our website or like us on Facebook. And just remember, your support is what makes our work possible. So this is all a result of everyone's support in this program and partnerships, and FDS's hard work. Thank you.
Thank you, Nihat. It's really a joy to hear from both Marganit and Nihad. And what I welcome is questions and comments. Here is one question. This is a question from Mark Revo. Nice to meet you over the Zoom, Dr. Revo. But unfortunately, I haven't met you in person, but I pine for the day that I can not only meet you in person, but see everybody who I see on the Zoom in the flesh. I saw one person yesterday in the flesh, but I couldn't give him a hug. I'll be introducing him shortly. The question is, what is the most important obstacle to empowering women, children in these two communities? And can both of you share an example of how the marginalized community leaders overcome these barriers, rather? So maybe we'll start with Marganit and then go to Nihad and then go from there.
Okay, so thank you for the question, because it's a real challenge. The Bedouin women in the south, which is much different than the Bedouin women in the north of Israel, they are not allowed to do any joint activities with men. So, for example, when we came for the open ceremony of the new school, only men attended because there were Jewish men coming over, and the Bedouin women were not allowed. The way to overcome that is doing special programs for women only, sometimes for women and their kids, with the support of the chair of the local municipality of Rachmet. It's not a formal, I mean, it's half formal because it's unrecognized village, but he really supports this joint activities. But it's so frustrating because the kids can never do any joint activities with both parents. So this is a main challenge, and we keep on thinking about of ways to overcome that. Another way to do that is, for example, bringing little gardens to plant next to their houses, so it makes it easy for them to grow vegetables, for example.
Nihad, I'm going to, before I ask you to respond to that question, I'm also going to ask you to respond to the question from Stan Shapiro. Thanks for the good question. How do legal authorities and police in Nablus address domestic violence and work with FDS? So maybe you could first start with barriers to women, and then address the second question at the same time. And again, these are all great questions. Would welcome any question about the program itself, or any question about the philosophy of Healing Across Divides, or any question about the politics that surround Healing Across the Divides. We at Healing Across the Divides don't take political positions, but of course all the work is political, so we're straddling both sides. But would welcome any questions you might have. Nihad?
Okay, so about trying to empower women and children. I mean, so yes, it's a very patriarchal society here. Men pretty much run everything. So I know that one of the obstacles that FDS and their leaders were faced with was timing and when to have these sessions and bringing these women together. And so FDS worked with the women to make sure that the services they were providing were at times that were available for them, which is usually in the mornings, during the week, nothing on the weekends. And so by allowing women to have at least that access, it gave them some empowerment, because it didn't give them excuses to not come, because we were able to work around the time. So men were okay with the women attending the sessions if it wasn't when they were home. So that's one of the ways that they dealt with the obstacle around this. And one of the sad out result of this, but because they were dealing with obesity and it was around health, I think there wasn't issues for a lot of the women to come to these sessions. But because of that, they were able to, women were able to talk more about their home life. And so this.
She's just frozen.
I know. So I'm not sure if the connection, one of the things that we have to deal with very often in the Palestinian territories is the poor internet connection, because the Israeli military authorities control the amount of bandwidth that's in the while we're waiting, the bandwidth that's available on the internet, while we're waiting for Nihad to unfreeze. Marganit, could you maybe address the issue from Billy Milwi? Oh, are you back, Nihad? Nihad, maybe you'll put yourself on off the, I think we just lost her. But maybe Marganit, you could speak to the issue that Billy Milwi brought up. Is domestic violence a major issue? And if so, is the underlying cause cultural, economic, or other factors? Is the violence primarily directed at women or children in the home as well? Before you answer it, I just want to point out that in every society, including the United States, domestic violence, maybe you might address this also, domestic violence has increased during the COVID pandemic. So you might want to make a comment on that too, Marganit, also.
We just got Nihad back, so I think it's better that she would answer that.
Nihad, are you back?
Yes, I'm back. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. I think I'm
That's okay.
What was the second question?
The question was, how do legal authorities and police in Nablus address domestic violence and work with the FDS to address domestic violence and support? Go ahead.
So they actually support. They're actually very supportive of supporting FDS. And what usually happens is when a woman needs shelter, it's the police actually who have to pick up the woman and bring them to FDS. So it's the police who work closely with FDS about transporting the women to the shelter. The shelter is, I have a funny story about that. The shelter is, obviously because it's a shelter, all of the residents around don't even know that it's a shelter. It's actually near a college, and when I first went to go visit the shelter, I got lost because I didn't know where it was, and so my husband was with me because it had been actually my first time in Nablus alone, and so we stopped.
Oops. Yeah, this is a challenge. As you can imagine, when we did the Zoom call 2 weeks ago with all the Palestinian grantees, the call was for an hour and it went back and forth. And that's just one of the challenges that we have. Marguerite, you want to step in for a minute till Nihad comes back?
Yeah, I see she is back. Nihad, are you with us?
Back, Nihad?
Okay.
Stopped at a cafe.
Oh, go ahead, Nihad.
Hi, I'm back. I'm so
You were
sorry.
telling us the
Okay.
story. You were telling us the story
What-
that you got lost and you couldn't find the place.
We couldn't find the place, so we stopped off at a cafe, and the person at the cafe said, I don't know what you're talking about, but there's a police station for women up the street. And that's where the police officers drop off women criminals, is what they thought. And so I realized at that point that it was probably the shelter. So we had gone up there and I went up there and found out it was a shelter. So what I thought around that was how respectful the police were about making sure that the identity of FDS isn't exposed. And so they let people think that it was a women's prison, and in reality, it was a shelter for women and children. So in terms of support, they get that. They do receive some financial support from the Palestinian Authority. They house, I forget, there was a question about how many people they house. I can ask Suad and Shadden, but I think they can house up to 12 women and their children. But I can get a better answer after the call and send you the answer to that.
And Marguerite, do you want to address the issue of from Billy? Is domestic violence a major issue? And if so, is the underlying issue cause cultural economics? And I was bringing up the issue of the COVID pandemic era.
Yes, definitely. COVID era is a horrible time for domestic violence because it's like it just put everything on a very extreme, and there isn't enough. I mean, first of all, it's in the Palestinian community here in Israel. It's more women are being murdered, and there is a big how can I say that? I mean, there are some expectations that the police would be much more involved in preventing that. And the women's shelter, I think there is maybe only one or two for Palestinian women in Israel. I think only one, so it's also a challenge. And so there was just, I think last week, a big demonstration about the murder of women in Israel because it just got really beyond reasonable. Of course, any woman that is being murdered at her home. So it's a big challenge at the moment, more than ever, and it's not treated enough. This is part of the problem. So no solution, mostly for the Palestinian women in Israel.
And you want to make any comment about Jewish women? They seem to be very much at risk for domestic abuse in addition.
Yes, there are. But on the other hand, there are more authorities and social change organizations and other civil society organizations that helping them. So they get more aid than the Palestinian women. So I think that's the main difference. Also, of course, it can happen in all the communities. It's like that all around the world. You can be poor or rich and still suffer from different kind of violence. It could be economical, it can be, of course, physical, but it's a big issue here, and it's not solved yet at all.
I'd like to turn back to Nihad. Sarah Weinberger asks the following question, and I might also comment on it after you finish, Nihad. The question on Nihad is, how about the follow-up with the women in the obesity program? And if so, how long do you follow? And what have you learned from, and you might want to even ask Shadden and Suad, if they have any particular opinion about it, or if you, from the reports that they produce, which are quite voluminous, what your thoughts are about that question. And I'll make an observation after that.
So in terms of follow-up, FDS does continue to do follow-up with the women. They do have a WhatsApp group. And so that hasn't really stopped, and women can contact them. And in terms of what I've learned, or we can ask Shadden and Suad also, but I've just learned how women, when given the right tools and opportunities, take them and learn to do better and learn and want to do better for themselves. And one of the things that I also learned was that women realize that their health is important. And that was what was important. I think women in general tend to put their health second to their families. And I think this program made women realize and aware that it's not just about serving everybody else, that you need to stop and take care of yourself. I think this program gave that opportunity to a lot of women. It gave them an opportunity to come together. These groups that they would have were support groups. It was an outlet, and so I think there was a lot that I learned from these women. I learned a lot from Shadin and Suad, who worked tirelessly to make sure that they reached all these women. They went into very small villages, very small areas, and even if only 10 women in that area joined, it was something that felt like it was an accomplishment because we came to them. They didn't need to come to us. That was the other amazing part of our program, was that because of cost of transportation and again the traditions of women being close to home, FDS went to them and found clubs and centers and homes, sometimes homes of women to have these gatherings. So it's been very, very insightful for me to see, even on top of all of the other issues that we have to deal with, women, the occupation, taking care of the kids, taking care of the family, looking a certain way, they pushed on and continued to do and want better for themselves. And that was a result of this program. So to me, it was a really great experience.
Before I ask you to reflect on this next question from Larry Botnick, it's a pleasure to see everybody on the phone, and greetings to Larry, who was our partner. And I want to highlight Larry works for the UNHCR, United Nations High Commission on Refugees, and we are always looking for partners. And we work with the UNHCR under Larry's leadership on 2 programs that we have funded in the past that we're not highlighting today. So I just want to thank Larry for his leadership. And he has a question, and I'm going to raise the question, and then I'm going to go back to the point and come back to you, Nihad. And then I'm going to make a further observation on the previous question from Sarah Weinberger. So the question is there any programming with Bedouin or Palestinian men? We are wondering what alternatives there are once women are in the shelter, especially given how small geographically the territories are, limiting the physical protection offered. So while you think about that, Nihad, I just want to observe that the FDS initiative, just make one little additional detail, is very much built on the philosophy of lay-led chronic disease self-management. Those are very nice words. And as one of the attendees, John Wasson, knows, there's many efforts to do that kind of work, and people talk the talk, but scientifically don't walk the walk. And there's actually very few programs that have been demonstrated to be scientifically effective. And the one that was implemented had 2 advantages. And it was a program developed at Stanford by a wonderful professor named Kate Lorg. And if anybody would like more information, I'd be happy to send it to everybody. So not only was it scientifically validated, but secondly, and just as importantly, it was translated and validated in Arabic. So when I did the training, I became a master trainer in this effort. And I've trained, it's very widely used in the United States, particularly in departments of public health, and millions of people, many millions of people throughout the world. I did the training using the English master translation, and they did the learning, quote unquote, in the Arabic version. And I hope with Suad and Shadin and the head of ABBC to be doing training of new groups in December. And that'll be, frankly, a joyous moment for me, because I will have trained the trainers, and these trainers are going to be trainers. And that's really going to be a great moment. So with that backdrop, do you want to have any comments, Nihad, with respect to the question from Larry Botnick?
And that was related to
The programming for Bedouin or Palestinian men, we are wondering what alternatives there are once women are in the shelter.
Okay, so in terms of programming for Bedouin women and men, there isn't any in the West Bank. So we don't have any of that. And in terms of what happens after, so what they do in the shelter is they try and actually reunite families. Again, it's not necessarily always just a husband and wife domestic violence. Some of these women who come in are also facing abuse from their parents or a sibling. So there is a lot of counseling done where they try and see if they can reunite the families. And sometimes when that doesn't happen, then the Ministry of Social Affairs does step in, and they do try and help, and in some cases help women find homes in the area, I mean in Nablus, and provide some support, and they try and help them find work. And there have been a few cases like that, but because this is a very, again, family-oriented traditions and the way that they do things, they do try and solve these issues. They get other people involved in the communities. And so for them, what they do is try and get the women back and make sure that she's protected if she goes back to the home. And so that's kind of how it works. It's not like the way we see it in the States where, there's a shelter where women can stay for as long, there's only a limit to how long they can stay in the shelter. So they do try and do reunification if possible. And in some instances, they do find them homes and work.
Thank you. Mark Revo has actually a very fundamental question that both staff and board deal with all the time. With so much need, what has been and are the guiding principles for HATD in selecting and helping these hopeful partnerships? So I'll make a few observations, and then if Margaret or Nihad want to add anything to it, I would welcome that. Number one, we only work with established organizations. So again, at some point, I'm a scientist by background, and details make a difference. So we can't be more than a quarter to a third of the budget of an organization. So they have to be already established. They don't have to be big, but they can't be microscopic. So that's number one. Number two, these are 3-year grants. So by the second year, we're expecting that in Israel, where there is a healthcare system, in the Palestinian territories, they're what I would call micro health systems, but not really a health system. But in Israel, we expect that the grantee is actively working with the healthcare system in different ways to slowly transition so that by the end of the third year, if the initiative is successful, and a number of them have been successful, there will hopefully be interest on the part of an entity in Israel that will take over the initiative. Much more difficult in the Palestinian area to do that. We're also trying, and this will be my last comment before I want to see if either Margaret or Nihad have any comments. I want to slowly wrap up. And we always imagine that some of these initiatives will be taken over, and a number of them have been completely taken over. We also want to try to see if organizations are interested in engaging with each other. And that's also another measure. But the reality is we understand, and that's part of our background as healthcare professionals, is that these are long-term, in fact, lifelong initiatives. Margaret or Nihad, do you want to make any additional comment?
I just wanted, because I've gone through the selection process for some of these grantees, it's always a very, very, very hard decision to make because we are limited in our funds, and we get some really, really great initiatives, and it takes us a while to see which one we think which one would best serve our funds, and it's never an easy decision because again, there's just a lot of organizations that need our help, and even though they're established organizations, a lot of these are small organizations with very limited funds, and especially in the West Bank with the occupation and the PA and the limited resources that they have, some of these organizations don't even survive. So it's always a challenge for me to select some good organizations to do the work.
Marguerite, any quick comment?
I think we're trying maybe to find a balance between enabling, exploring new ways to promote health, at the same time to be as, I mean, it's also giving some opportunity for organizations to try new things. And sometimes they manage and doing amazing work, and sometimes it doesn't work, and then trying to help. And sometimes even just, you know, it's okay to decide that we can just, of course, not do the second year and then find another organization that can do the work. So it's like trying, I think, to find a good balance between new and innovative initiatives and more established organization as B'Terem, for example, that we want to start again working with them, which is a really big organization with amazing methodology that is already working. So it depends.
Thank you. Before I turn to our last comments from Morty Kamel, I just want to make a couple one very quick question for you. Anihat, do you know how many people are served at any one time in the shelter? That was a question from Noah Nesson.
Yes, 12 women and their children. And yeah.
Thank you. So before I turn it over to Morty, I just want to reemphasize to everybody who's signed in will get a transcript, a video rather, of today's call together with the presentations. I'll make maybe so feedback is always welcome. And I've said at the very beginning of this webinar, first of all, appreciate everybody being on. Our strength as an organization is not only through the amazing staff, two of whom you've heard from today, but also through a wonderful board of directors. And I'd like to now introduce Morty Kamel, who's got this great smile on his face. Let me see if I can do the amazing thing of unmuting him. Ask to unmute. Oh, you can unmute himself. Okay, go for it.
Okay.
You're all there.
Thanks, Norbert. I was just going to make a few remarks about the fiscal and financial aspects of what we do. And Dr. Revo's question just segues perfectly into that, because so often we have found a great program or a great organization that's requested funds, and we simply haven't had the funds to fund the program. And right now, we're funding 3 programs on the Israeli side, 3 programs on the Palestinian side, and we're not necessarily going to be able to pick up a 4th program on either side without adequate funding. And so these you'll see both from Norbert, from the members of the board, from the Scientific Advisory Committee. These are labors of love. The people who are doing them are deeply involved. And if anyone that's on this call can go to healingacrossthedivides.com/donate, and I think Norbert, will you please put the website URL in the chat? And if you can find it in your hearts to donate, then what you're going to be doing is you're going to be empowering the organization to continue this magnificent work. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Morty. We're up to 158. A fair number of you know me. You know that I like to start on time and I like to end on time. And it's 158. This has been a wonderful session. Really, you've kind of heard a little bit of the flavor of what we try to do, that we've been doing for the last almost 16 years now. And look forward to, most importantly, not only thank you for being on there, on the webinar, but I just want to highlight for you, this is the first year in a number of years that we didn't have our annual study tour. Sarah Weinberger, who's on the webinar, is the one who helped organize our annual study tour. There's a number of people who are on the webinar who were supposed to be on the study tour, but couldn't go on. We have the dates already set for the 2021 study tour. And there's already 7 or 8 people who have signed up for 2021. If anyone is interested, there's information on the website that I've sent, or you can just email me directly, and I will put my email address, on there. So with that, it's 1:59. I want to thank everybody for being on the call today and being on the webinar today. And most importantly, I really want to give every single one of you a physical hug sooner rather than later. Bye-bye, everybody now.